They have used this, the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to wear this, as well the women as well used to wear this, what's called the khimar, the same thing.
And so the women, over the faces.
Now Allah has commanded women to cover this bit. They are not commanded to cover the face. They are commanded to cover this bit. So that's why women are obliged to cover this bit like that. Yeah. So that the khimar of the women, they cover the head, the ears, and the neck, and they are commanded to cover this bit. So that's what Allah says in the Quran. وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Let them cover with their khimar. The jayb is this neck and the big part, the part of the chest. So women are obliged to cover that one. So this is the original term of khimar. And as you know, that Allah Azza wa Jal has commanded women to do that for a reason, and in order to protect them, and as well it's part of their Islamic identity, as Muslim women are the representative of Islam. So that's why when you go around and you see Muslim women wearing proper Islamic clothing, then it identifies that the Muslims exist in that area. And I think the brothers, they spoke to you earlier about Islam and now, are you a God believer, brother?
In Islam.
Are you a God believer, Julian?
Not really.
You don't believe in God? How we came into existence? Have you ever asked yourself?
I have, yeah.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
brought up Anglican.
Yeah.
But it was kind of just pushed on me at school. And then haven't really dived into religion too much.
You know, I will tell you something. Many of the people who are born in different religions, in different faiths, especially certain sect of Christianity, they kind of been put off from following any religion because of the faith system that they have, the strict faith system which has no reasons behind it. But this is not the way, and this is not the situation for every single faith. So that's why when you say, if you don't say, I'm not a God believer, I do understand this, but deep inside you already believe in the existence of God, correct? There is a creator, higher power. No, at all. Okay, so have you used any logical or, for example, any reasonable argument to support what you believe, that there is nothing there?
I don't know, just deep down I think as in yes and no.
Okay, yes and no. Let's start with yes. Okay, yes. And then we'll discuss about the no now.
It's a hard one because I think not knowing the question to something doesn't mean it's one way. Or like me not knowing, say, how we all created.
Good.
I don't necessarily, I'm not trying to answer that question. You know what I mean?
No, actually, this question, it's in our mind, all of us. We keep asking our question about our existence. There are three fundamental questions. We are born with these questions. It's in our nature, and we keep questioning ourselves from time to time. We may neglect the answer. We may neglect to question ourselves, but it's there. Firstly, how we came into existence, meaning where we came from. What are we doing here? That's the next question. The third question, where are we going to? These are three things. Yeah. So, for example, if you woke up and you are on a ship, for example, First of all, the first question you say, where I came from. Yeah. The ship must sail from somewhere. Yeah. And as well, the second question, what I'm doing here on this ship? Am I a tourist? What I'm doing? The third question is, what I'm going to. Yeah. These are the three things. So the same thing, you in this life, you're exactly the same thing. You're born here, and then the first question we should ask ourselves, where we came from. What's the purpose of our creation? What's the purpose that we are here? And then where we are heading, where we are going to. So that's why, since we all born with this, that goes us or leads us to the question about the existence of a creator. Now, since we are here, do you believe you exist?
I do.
You believe you exist? You're not someone who says, I don't know. say you exist. All right, that's good. At least we have a starting. At least that's a good starting point. At least. So since you believe you exist, now the question is how you came into existence.
From my mother.
From your mother, okay. How this goes back all the way to the first, and then this universe, where it came, how it came into
I don't
existence.
have the answer to that.
Good. Either then let's use our own reasonable and reasons. Let's use our own ears, because we have this, machine which is between our ears. Let me say this joke. They said there is someone that literally he has no any single brain cells in his mind at all. And then they said how someone could live and has no brain cells. By the way, it's a joke. It's a hypothesis. It's not real, but it's a joke. So then the doctors, they open up his skull, but then they said they found only one single string. They said, oh, that string, what does it do? So they cut the string, then the ears fall. So that string was just holding the ears. It's a joke for you. The point is, of course, all of us, we have brains and we think, and so that's why our own reasons leads us to few points. First of all, that either this universe created itself by itself, or this universe was there always, or this universe was created by a creator. Yeah, so there is something that has created this universe. So now here, if we wanted to use this our own analogy, to say, can this universe create itself by itself? Can it? Can it do it?
Anything. I won't say anything's possible, but I don't know.
Let me use a similar hypothesis. Can you give birth to yourself?
No.
Do you know why not? Because you have to pre-exist before existence, meaning you have to be there to produce yourself in order to be there. So, and it's impossible. Yeah. So to say the universe created itself by itself, it has to pre-exist before its existence, and that's totally nonsense. And to say this universe was there always that all the cosmologists, they believe that the universe has a starting point. There is a starting point, that the universe existed. Not just that, not just only it has a starting point. Now, as well, infinity, it is a hypothesis. It is not something, it doesn't exist in the real life. So we cannot use infinity, because I am a mathematician myself. So infinity is just only, it's a hypothesis. It's an assumption. It's a
Come from somewhere.
yeah. So, but it doesn't exist in real life. There is nothing called infinity in reality. So it has to be finite, meaning there is a starting point. So since everything in this universe is finite, so it has.
I know you touched on it, but what's Islam?
I will come to the point what Islam says. Then we will end up with one single answer. This universe was created by a creator. Do you agree?
No.
You don't agree. So even with these, when we nullify the other assumptions, yet you still is not convincing.
Nah, I have a hard time believing.
It's not about belief. It's about understanding. We exist. Since you said we exist, our existence,
Where does it come from?
it has a starting point. This starting point.
I agree, everything has to start somewhere, for sure.
Okay, good. So this universe has a starting point. Now this starting point, it's impossible to the universe creating itself by itself. So there has to be a higher power to create this universe. It has to be. There is no any other option. We are left up with no options. So if you say maybe there is whatever, but maybe there is dragon, whatever. Some people don't believe in dragon, but still we are not talking about maybes. We're talking about real things which is in reality. Yeah, and things which has to be understood properly, with our own reasons. And so that's why with our own reasoning, so it's impossible this universe to create itself by itself. It's impossible this universe was there always. So it has to have a starting point to be created by a higher power. Do you agree?
A higher power, yes.
Good.
But
Fine.
maybe not a higher power in terms of
Being God.
the God.
No problem. So let's agree on this. Let's
Something
agree.
had to happen, for sure.
Let's agree there is a higher power created this universe. Let's agree on this.
Are you talking about a God?
I'm talking about a higher power. And then we'll talk about
Something.
and
yeah,
then we
okay.
will be start defining what is higher
I
power.
agree. I agree.
So there is a higher power.
Something had to happen for the start.
Yeah. So there is a higher power created this universe. That's my point.
Okay.
So this higher power, is it powerful?
Of course it is.
Yeah. Does it have knowledge to create?
Does it have knowledge? When you were saying it, I don't know if it.
The power. It refers to the power.
The power is when you. I don't know if I agree with saying it because.
Whatever. Leave. We're not discussing about these small things. We're talking about this higher power should have knowledge to create this universe.
Should have knowledge. Even when you say knowledge, it signifies to me that it thinks, and I don't know if the higher power thinks.
Let me tell you, we'll come to the think or not the main thing. Now, if you say it doesn't have any knowledge, then this universe, with all these sophistications in this universe, all these sophistications in your body, all these sophistications in everything that's surrounding us, it cannot happen randomly. So randomness, it's not the right choice to say. For example, it's not random that your eyes are there. It's not random that your heart is there. It's not random that your stomach is there. Your digesting system and all of these. Those are not random things, and it cannot be random. It cannot come by randomness. It cannot come out of chaos. Meaning, some people will assume if it came from random. So they said that the cells keep experiencing things until they fit the way that it is. Which is now the question is, where are the creatures or the things which is similar to human being that has digesting system externally, and then it discovered that to be externally it doesn't work, then to put it inside. Meaning it has to decide to do things. So that's why when I'm talking about the higher power to create this sophisticated universe, the way that it is, the structure of the universe itself, the structure of us as a human being, the structure of our system, the structure of our bodies, the structure of the environment, everything around us, it cannot come out of chaos. It should come out of knowledge. Do you agree?
I don't know.
Let me make it easier for you. Do you think you are wearing socks? Yeah, I could see. Yeah?
I am wearing socks.
Okay, good. Do you think you need to have knowledge to create these socks?
To create it?
Yeah, to make it.
Yeah, we have to have knowledge.
Do you think it could come out of randomness? People, they start putting socks in their nose and their ears, and then, let's put it my foot.
I think human has had to have knowledge to...
Good. So they have knowledge to create the socks, yeah? Don't you think the power that has created you should have more knowledge than the human being which they have created socks?
I think when you talk about knowledge, it gets me a bit lost because knowledge as in, I think when you say knowledge, I assume the brain and thinking. Well, like say that tree.
By the way,
that tree grows and that so has knowledge.
No, not necessarily. By the way, not necessarily brain, because
you see where I'm coming from?
no, not necessarily brain. For example, the computer has knowledge, has certain things, has certain decisions. It doesn't necessarily have a brain. So we're not talking about necessarily has to have a brain. We're talking about a knowledge, yeah. For this, going back to the point, this higher power that has created this universe, it should have knowledge to create these sophisticated things the way that it is structured as it is. So if you say the absence of knowledge with this higher power, it will cause chaos, which it will end up by creating nothing. So that's why if it's powerful, we know if something is very powerful to do things, and if they do things randomly without knowing what they do, then it will end up by making chaos and destruction rather than making things that flourishing and that exist in this sophisticated universe. So that's what I meant by higher power. Yeah? Do you agree?
I don't know. When you say agree, it kind of forces me to say yes or no.
No, because we end up, by the way, I'm not forcing. I'm here, I'm not for. Yeah. There's no one behind you. But
we got the cameras and everything, you know. So you want that
yeah, I know.
slam dunk.
No, but I'm just putting you in a place where you should be thinking logically.
Yeah.
That place,
I
to
agree.
think logically, you have to agree that there is a higher power that has created this universe, and this higher power must have knowledge to create this universe. Simple as that. There is no
I don't think I do. And like, I probably will butcher trying to justify it, but in my head, that's just how I think. You know?
I understand, but my point is to you again, we have to understand the first concept about the higher power, that should have a power, should be powerful, and it should have knowledge. These are fundamentals. You cannot you cannot take it out. You cannot take knowledge out of this higher power. Otherwise, the way the universe that it exists, the way that we know, it will never happen. So that's why what I'm saying to you, of course, I understand you've been put off by religion. I understand you've been put off by the existence of God because of the faith that you were in. I understand. I do understand this. But this not necessarily goes everywhere. So that's why what I'm saying, when we are using our own reasons, and our own logic, then it will make us to end by believing and there is a higher power, and this higher power should have knowledge. That's my point. So if we agree on this, then we're gonna go to the next step. Does this higher power has a will? That's the next question. Now that's my point here. When we agree on these points, then the next step is to say, does it have a will? Meaning an independent will, not like what you said, you're forcing me to say, saying to decide, this higher power has to decide to choose to do things and choose not to do things. Yeah? So, and if it's knowledgeable and has the knowledge, it should have independent will. It was so powerful, which means all powers, and so knowledgeable, which means all knowing, should have an independent will. And that is the definition of God. Basically. Now, whether we like it or not, this is the situation. Now, here the next question: if we believe where we came from God, God has created us, then the next question comes to us: what are we doing here? Yeah. So when God is all powerful, all knowing, created us as a human being in a, you could say, in an extraordinary way compared to the other creatures and other animals, and we have a decisions that our decision has an impact to everything surrounding us. That means the same thing in the logical concepts, that the more knowledge the person has, the more responsibility they have, and the more, knowledge is power, and not just that, and the more the person has more free in terms of choices and will, that means the responsibility is more. For example, if there are in hierarchy in army, the soldier has certain choices, but doesn't have like the officer, and the officer doesn't have like someone who's a captain, and the captain doesn't have someone who's like a colonel or a brigadier or general. Each one, the more the person has more independence, or has more, you could say, free of choices and free will that they have, that means the responsibility is more. So for us as a human being, yes, we have more responsibility compared to the animals. So what's our responsibility compared to them? Is it just Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh? Is our responsibility just eat, drink, reproduce? Is that all? Do you think that's our purpose of existence? Is that all?
What do I think my purpose is, or in general?
In general.
My purpose is in general, sorry. In general?
Let's say what about you?
My purpose is to change the world for the better.
Better. Can you define me what is better?
Better, as in better than how I grew up. I want to leave it better than how I think. So in terms of with climate change, in terms of, I don't know,
if you don't believe,
to each other.
Can I say to you something? If you don't believe in God, and you don't believe in a higher power, you don't believe, that means how can you define what is good and bad?
what is good and bad. Good and bad is on a spectrum. You can't say yes or no because like someone might define something as good when another person might find it as bad.
But okay, then why we have to go with your choices of good and bad?
What do you mean? Why we have to go with your choice?
You said you wanted to change the world.
Say there's a person that enjoyed killing people for fun. Like we, of course, like the answer is like we'd say that's bad, right? Like, but why? Like there needs to be an explanation of why, and you can't just say because killing people is wrong. Like you have to have like it has to be, or that's a more extreme.